Is Ibrahim Traoré the next Thomas Sankara? Wow, that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. Ibrahim Traoré. When you click or search Ibrahim Traoré in any social media account, you're going to see someone with a military uniform pop up. So often, there are a lot of videos about Ibrahim, and I'm glad that there's this movement going on among the youths. We realize that a lot of things that he's doing are great for Africa, not just Burkina Faso, because some people get it twisted. We need leaders like that are going to stand up for the people. Even though the West brings a lot of propaganda, they write a lot of articles or say fake things about him. People love him, they cherish him. A lot of people want to protect him
Ibrahim Traoré, they will regret
and see him succeed. That's what we need in Africa, because one of the things that have been dividing us for a while now is we're not united. So if we can unite towards a common goal, and we believe that Ibrahim Traoré is going to bring that to Africa, then it's great. Because if we have 54 Ibrahim Traorés in Africa, and then we're talking about a different continent right now, that's a great thing. You know, when the coup started, when the coup came about in Burkina Faso, and the leader at the time, Paul Henry Damiba. So when Paul Henry Damiba took power in Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traoré discovered that most of the things that he talked about before the military overthrew the government at the time, the civilian government, were not being implemented, and he became cozy with the Western nations. He did not expel France from Burkina Faso, and jihadist movement kept on gaining footstool in Burkina Faso. So they were not happy about it, and that's when he decided that, oh, you have to take over counter coup. Actually, that was a great thing, because if the previous regime or the previous government under Damiba stayed in place and continued with those policies, nothing is going to change. We're just going to be having different phases but the same thing, the same transaction. We're not seeing no changes, and that is bad. But when Ibrahim Traoré came in, he made a lot of changes. I could not believe that Burkina Faso, one of the world's producers of gold, did not have paved roads. They have like probably how many kilometers of paved roads in the whole country? Top 4 producers of gold in Africa. That is not a good thing. Africa should unite among themselves and see in Ibrahim Traoré as an example, because that's what we need right now. And you see, he stood up to France, expelled France after 2 months. Get out of there. And anti-French sentiment in Africa is growing rapidly every single day. There's nothing to be proud about when you look at France and Africa relationship. They try to give us leaders and protect those leaders. They use those leaders to exploit Africa. I know I posted a video some time ago talking about Africa's leaders, and someone attacked me and said, oh, you're talking about the leaders, but you're not talking about the issue, which is France. At the same time, I do understand how those two come into play, you know, especially when it comes to the geopolitics in Africa. France have been so bad, a bad partner. The same thing happening not only in Burkina Faso, a lot of African countries, Cameroon and other French African countries. The deals that they sign with France are not the best deal for Africa, but they're great for France. And that's why I see France keep on developing rapidly. But our African society keep on going down, because why? We're rich in natural resources, but the Europeans and the Americans exploit us and take our golds, our diamonds, all the natural resources we produce, and the deals are not fair for Africa. So if we have a lot of leaders stepping up to the West, like Ibrahim Traoré is doing right now in Burkina Faso, it's going to be a great thing. And I just watched a couple of videos of him visiting Russia, and I just had to listen. And when you hear that guy speak, you're going to understand that he really have a plan, a vision that he's trying to take the people to. And that's what leadership is. It's not all about just saying that you want to be a politician or assuming power. Power is not everything. But people don't understand this. A lot of African leaders don't understand this. Power reveals your ignorance. So if you're ignorant, power is going to make it at a large scale, and everyone is going to see how ignorant you are. But our African leaders don't really understand. And when you listen to what he's saying, he wants Russia to collaborate with Africa or collaborate with Burkina Faso and facilitate the exchange of information in regards to technology and sciences. That's very important, because if you take a look, Africa is not at the forefront of all these emerging technologies. We have a lot of strong minds, but the way Africa have been neglected for a long time now, we don't have access to a lot of critical information when it comes to science and technology. So he wants the exchange of that, so that way the people of Burkina Faso can build universities that will live up to the expectation or the standards of the Russian university. That's a good thing too. I know some people might attack me now that, oh yeah, you're talking about Russia now in a good light, and your previous video you were talking about Russia using Africa to fight in Ukraine, using Africans to fight in Ukraine. What I'm going to say is this, like, it's not fair for an African to travel to Russia and want to go to school or be educated or have a better life for themselves and their family, and then you try to use those people, manipulate them in signing documents that they don't really understand, and they don't really understand the language. You use them and put them in the front line. That's not fair. We can't accept that as Africans, and that's gonna stop. But I cannot sit down and say, Russia is a bad partner. Let's see how it plays out. Let's really see how it plays out. I hope that Africa and Russia are going to do some great things. I just believe so, because if the Western nations can be a reliable partner, only talking about aid is not going to be the one to turn Africa around. Because even the aid that we talk about all the time, that they send aid to Africa, take a look at what happened with those resources, the money that's been sent to Africa, billions of dollars. What happens after the money is dropped in Africa or sent to an African account? The people don't know what's happening. The leaders, maybe they squeeze it off, share it among themselves, and they sit quiet. But a lot of African leaders have Swiss accounts. They just offshore, like put a lot of Africa's money in Switzerland, in banks in Switzerland. That have to change. Africa should be a place where everybody wants to be in. But it cannot be as it is right now, and you expect everything to be better. So I'm glad that we're speaking up, and I'm glad that every country in Africa is waking up, despite the fact that we still have ancients of days as leaders, especially in Cameroon and other African countries. Ancients of days that have to change rapidly, and we have to move forward. And technology is very important. Any African youth watching this, technology is very important. That is what is going to put us at the forefront of the world great power. We need to be on the table when they're talking about great nations, but we're not. Why? Because they know nothing good comes from Africa. But we have to shock them. And now is the time to let the rest of the world know that, hey, we have leaders like Ibrahim Traoré, and we're going to protect him, stand by him, and I pray and I hope he does not change and become a puppet to the West, because that's going to be an embarrassment to all of us supporting him. But I believe he's going to stand by us, and he's going to stand by our interests, because it's very important. Burkina Faso have been one of the highest when it comes to coup d'etat in Africa. A lot of coups in Burkina Faso. But I pray that no one is going to overthrow Captain. I'm sorry for disrespecting you, Captain. Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Oh, gotta always make sure I call him Captain, because that's important. You can't put his title down. Captain Ibrahim Traoré is bringing hope to the people of Burkina Faso, and we just gotta support him. We gotta make sure we're there by him all the time. And just seeing someone who really cares about Africa is encouraging. It's really encouraging, Because if we don't have this kind of visionary thinkers, it's going to be hard for us to grow. So this is the first step. We have someone who we can look up to and aspire to be like. That's going to help us grow rapidly. But the next thing is science and technology. Science and technology. Please, South Africa, you got some advancement in science and technology. You have to open up to the rest of Africa. Share that knowledge. There should be an exchange of information between African countries in science and technology. Your know-how should be exchanged with some other African countries. Share knowledge, share power, share it. That's how we're going to make a better Africa. You cannot stay and say, oh, you advance in certain areas while the rest of Africa is not. Let's share, let's communicate, let's try to do freedom of trade, freedom of expression, freedom of movement. Let's move within African countries freely. It's not a crime to be an African. An African should be able to travel from Togo to Burkina Faso, from Burkina Faso to Ghana, from Burkina Faso to Nigeria with no issue, no stress, free access for Africa. You cannot be given, our leaders cannot be given free access to the West and let Africa treat Africans as nobodies. That's crazy. And it has to change, and it's going to change today. So let's stand with the people of Burkina Faso. Let's stand with Captain Ibrahim Traoré, because he's doing a great job. Standing up to France, standing up to the Western nations, and letting them know that Africans want to be equal partners. We don't want to be treated as second-class citizens. We don't want to be treated as people who don't know what they're doing. We don't want to be treated as people who don't understand how trade works. It should not be 80-20. It should not be 90-10. It should be 50-50. If you want to do business in Africa, we got to be equal partners. If you want everything to go well, let's sit at the negotiating table and see how you can work on Africa's interests, not your interests, because that have been going on for too long. And if we continue letting the Western countries take control of our resources, of our leaders, then we don't have a voice. We don't have a voice. So it is important that every African youth should be thinking about getting into leadership. Get into leadership. Go in there, learn, aspire to become a great leader like Ibrahim Traoré. Thomas Sankara was a great leader too, but he was betrayed by his closest ally and someone he called friend and assassinated. If Thomas Sankara was president for a long time, Burkina Faso is not going to be backward the way it is now. But I know if Captain Ibrahim Traoré have been doing some great job for the past 2 years now, and he's transformed a lot of things and changed people's mind about the great nation of Burkina Faso. So we as Africans got to support our great legend, because he is a legend. I know my country, Cameroon, should be in that conversation. But, Cameroon being Cameroon, when the president of the country discovered that there were several coups in other West African countries, and it got close to Gabon, when Gabon had the coup d'etat, the guy, president of Cameroon, Paul Biya Bivondo Bartholomew, decided to reshuffle all the generals. He had to fire a lot of them, top-ranking officials in the army, and then put new guys because he knew that probably he's going to be next. But that's not a problem. No one is going to rule forever. You can't get out of this. You can't get out of life alive. We all got to die someday. So we're going to see how it happens. I don't understand how someone is 90-something years old and is still trying to be president of the country after ruling for over 42 years. I don't understand how that is possible. But it's only in Africa that they're going to try to manipulate everything. But it is what it is. Africa is rising. The youth are opening their eyes now to really understand what is going on. And we're going to change. Don't worry. It's a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. Anyone who bets against Africa at this point in time don't know what they're doing. Because what happened years ago will not happen now. If they try it, this world is going to be something else. Because I believe Africa will unite. And there's one thing about Africans. We gossip a lot. We talk about things that don't make sense. And then when someone comes that we believe in, we're going to say how we support that person. And when something happens, we don't talk about it no more. Please, we have to wipe away that mentality and stand by all the leaders that are doing great for Africa. And that includes very dark man, VDM in Nigeria. He's doing a lot of great things. I'm glad he's released and he's free now. Let him continue to do the great things that he's doing for the people of Nigeria. A lot of Africans are inspired by VDM. The Rattles, here we go. We just got to keep pushing. Big shout out to VDM, very dark man, and what he does, man. Like that is a great work. It's almost impossible for another person to replicate that, because the amount of rigs and everything involved in doing that thing, especially in Nigeria, man. Shout out to you, bros. He's big, and the protests all over Nigeria, not only Nigeria, but even the UK and other part of the world was incredible. Free VDM was a big movement, and I'm glad he's released now, and he's going to continue doing what he does best, letting the injustice known to the rest of the world, not only Nigeria, because Nigerians think VDM is theirs, VDM is ours as Africans. I love him so much, and I just hope it continue doing what he does best. And some people are going to say, oh, sometimes he crossed the line. Yeah, we all are human. Sometimes we might make mistakes. We might say some things that shouldn't have been said. But the most important thing is don't focus on someone's mistake. Focus on the goal and the vision where the person is taking or leading you to. Believe in him and trust the process. Don't say, oh, because there was one thing that he said that I did not like, I'm not going to believe in whatever he says, or I'm not going to follow him. Trust the process. When you see something great, you understand, and you can relate with that person at some level. So understand that we all as Africans got a role to play, and we're going to play it greatly. So let's bet in Africa. Let's invest in Africa. Let's invest in our sciences and technology, because it is very important. When we advance in science and technology, then we can use whatever we have or whatever capabilities we have to further our aspirations, and we can use that to grow several parts of our economies. Science and technology is very important. I believe South Africa have a big role to play. They are advanced in certain areas when it comes to science and technology. I want and I believe that South Africa should be collaborating with the rest of Africa to help them get to a certain level. And let's join. Let's have one voice. Let's have one team and become one Africa. Even if it's not one country, but one Africa. The people believe in each other. We can do business in one African country or the other, and this freedom of movement of goods and everything, movement of people. That's going to be great for us all. I believe in Africa, and I hope you do same. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, please, shout out to you. Do everything to make Burkina Faso the best country in the world. Merci beaucoup, monsieur. Please, if you're getting any value in this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you can be the first person to be notified when we drop any future episode. Let's get right into it.